Welcome back to Roll to Hit Gaming's 50 Favorite Games, Part 3, 2018 style.
We'll be going through games 30 through 21.
Now, this is a compiled list of our favorite games. We're not trying to say that one game is better than the other or these are the best games in the world. God knows we haven't played them all. So this is a list we've put together of just our favorites, saying we'd like to play these over the ones that are underneath them. For Roll to Hit Gaming, I'm Chip.
I'm Joe.
And I'm Lucas. I'm going to kick off number 30 with what is, in my opinion, the preeminent bag builder from Tasty Minstrel Games, and that's Orleans. This one, you are building your little tableau in front of you with your different types of workers. And then, you go out and you do X to get a different kind of worker. You put them in your bag, and at the beginning of the turn, based on your strength, you pull X number of them out, and these are the workers you have to play with. Mm-hmm. This is my favorite part of it, is that whole worker thing, and on your board, to accomplish each one of your actions, you've got to fill it up with this worker, and this worker. So, you can leave a couple out there for a while hoping to draw that one, but I think the game is in deciding what your strategy is, what you're going to be strong at, and building and, in some cases, thinning that bag, almost like you would with a deck builder, to get your draws to be more efficient to do the things you want them to do. That part of the puzzle is amazing to me. I think you could take the rest of the game away and I'd still like it.
Okay.
But I'm super looking forward to adding the Trade and Intrigue expansion into it, because the part that is least appealing to me is the little city area where you build your houses and go around and get resources. And I think adding the pick up and deliver quests and the different things that's going to add is really going to make this one great. But I'm a big fan of Orleans.
What I like, it's an evolution on deck building with the bag building. And not only culling your bag, but you can actually just leave the workers out on your boards, right? And that kind of gets them out of your way so you can draw up different, because you don't have to activate once you fill up an area if you don't choose to, right? Mm-hmm. So that's one more avenue for kind of pseudo-culling your bag. Really great game. I love Orleans, or Orleans, however you say it.
The part I like is the technology, because you can actually, as you build up your technology, that cog replaces one of your worker placement spaces. And so that way you never have to use one of your tokens there again. It's already auto-filled. So that's kind of neat, because that way you can streamline. Well, I don't need to pick up any more sailors now because I have all my sailors already technologized. Is that a word?
I think so. Why not?
You said it. Let's just go with it.
Okay. So for my number 30, I chose Historio. Historio is a very charming game. The artwork in it is absolutely stunning. But basically, you're putting on a play for the king, and depending on his mood, is he in the mood for a tragedy or isn't he in the mood for a comedy? And so you're building up your actors in order to perform at the end of the rounds. I don't know. It's really charming. It's putting things together, and you visit. They have these little zeppelins that you're going to the different cities and in order to hire the workers. So I don't know. It's very cute, very charming. I love that one, and that's Historio.
I think it is a neat game. It's way, way, way overproduced, right? Your zeppelins could have been little tokens or whatever, and there's actually a stage with a little meter for the king's happiness, right? So that's neat. Like she said, the art is great, but the neat thing is there are these little special character actors you can get that are going to do whatever it is that they do, and they kind of let you manipulate what's going on, because if you go to the same place as somebody else, y'all are going to butt heads and nobody gets it, and they can kind of manipulate some things, and it's kind of a neat situational choices type deal. So, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Very cool. My number 30 is going to be a game that I haven't been able to introduce you guys to yet. That's Mombasa. This is a real heavy economic game. The theme is kind of the exploitation of Africa during the early diamond mines and things like that. So, I'll take that as it is. But, the game is fun. You're essentially kind of managing and speculating on 4 different stock exchanges while trying to build yourself up with different powers and things. But it has a neat mechanic of pre-planning your actions, and then the cards that you discard become, it's one of those where you don't shuffle, you keep the same order. So, you're kind of pre-building future actions by the way that you discard. That's kind of neat to me. Not a lot of games have that. So I really like this, and I hope to introduce you guys to it pretty soon.
Definitely one to try.
Yeah, as you may or may not find out later, I'm a big Alexander Pfister fan. So I'd love to give that one a shot.
And those are our 30s. So for my number 29, I chose an abstract game, Sagrada. It's a beautiful game to where you're pulling from a bag, colorful, clear dice. And you're building up your stained glass window. And there's certain rules that you have to follow. Some of the dice that you put in, once you've rolled them, it's either going to have to be by the number, by the shade. There's also some tools that you can spend your favor tokens on in order to help you out. And it's all based on victory points. But it's so pretty. And it's so enjoyable. And I really love the little puzzle to it. And that's Sagrada.
Yeah, this is, I made this point in the last episode with another abstract she brought up. This is continuing the trend of making your abstract game visually interesting. I'm a big fan of that. And I really liked this game. You know, if you've watched the channel for any period of time, abstracts really aren't my deal, but this one connected, and I think part of it is that visual appeal.
Yeah, this game is just relaxing to play to me. I mean, there is a puzzle to it, but I don't get anxious playing it. It's beautiful to look at. It's just a relaxing little game, and I can appreciate it. Yeah. Mine is going to be a wine making game. So I'm choosing Viticulture for my number 29. And I know there was some controversy last episode with Scythe being so low. This one is kind of low on the list too. I have to say I love this game. You're making wine over the course of seasons. And in this game, in Viticulture, the seasons are split, so you have certain actions that'll take place in the spring, certain actions take place in the spring, summer, I guess, and then other actions that take place the later half of the year. And, it's just neat. You're kind of, I think with this one, the two major titles here, Viticulture and Vinhos being the other one, winemaking game. With Viticulture, kind of feels more to me, like a small winery, sort of, not an industry. You're really focused on making the specific wine varieties and harvesting, and that kind of thing. Whereas Vinhos is sort of more industrial winemaking feel to me. But I can really appreciate Viticulture. It's a great game, great worker placement, and I like it.
I really like the visitor cards. That's the piece that I enjoy the most. That's in the winter side. But, the visitors will come and they'll help you kind of do the jobs for you or gives you bonuses. And I really like the visitor cards on those. Yeah,
I think this is a home run from Stegmaier. More to come on that. My number 29 is from Portal Games, and that is Imperial Settlers. We had played a couple years ago 51st State, the master set, and I absolutely love that game. And I had looked at Imperial Settlers forever because I think thematically this one would be a little more appealing to me. And I never pulled the trigger because it's the same game, or so I thought. And then this past year we did a math trade where this was one of the games that we got it to the table, and where it separates itself is each faction has its own deck that it can either pull from the pool of cards in the middle of the table, or you can pull from your faction deck. And that kind of makes each of your factions have their own little thing they've got going on. And I really enjoyed that, the faction deck aspect of it, making my faction even more unique than just, say, a special power would have for my faction. So that's why Imperial Settlers ended up at 29 on my list.
It was really surprising to me. It was one of the games that I wasn't sure I was going to like as much because, the cover on the art's a little bit more cartoony, and I'm a diehard fan of 51st State. So when I saw this game come out, like you said, it wasn't something that I'd be like, oh, I have to have it. But it was really cool because you could build, it has a little, an engine building thing, of course. But you could build a whole strategy just over one or two different parts of the engine. You didn't have to have this huge machination firing on all cylinders. And so it was more relaxing, less tense to me than 51st State. And so it was definitely an enjoyable game.
Yeah, I like both of those titles, but the artwork actually drew me to Imperial Settlers. I like the post-apocalyptic of 51st State, but something about the art kind of drew me. I like the chibi style, cartoony kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a fun game.
You know, just to put it over a little bit here, she actually told me after she sat down at the table that night with the intention of hating that
Okay,
and came out of it really enjoying it, right? So I think that says a lot about how good it is.
Yep, great game. Those are going to be our number 29s. Here we are at 28. I'm going to start off with a classic Euro game, and I think maybe one of the very first that we ever got involved with. So it's going to be Puerto Rico. This is just a solid game. We've played it God knows how many times, and it's just fun. You're running plantation in the New World, trying to build that up and to score victory points because it's, of course, a Euro game. Managing workers coming in, brown disc. Call it what you want, and you know, setting your plantation, building buildings in the city of San Juan, and just managing the whole thing. It's a really cool game. It got us involved in hobby gaming, and I think I'll always have fond memories of it. But we've pulled it off the shelf, not recently, but relatively recently, and it holds up. It's still a great game to play. A lot of strategy into it. Some people might say it's been solved. I haven't solved it, so I'm still having a great time playing it. So it's Puerto Rico.
I don't know about solved, but maybe it's we're past that now with the boom of the number of games.
I got to disagree. I think it's a clean, concise Euro game that just hits on every level for me. Yeah, I got to disagree with that.
Yeah, for me, it's an evergreen title.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So my number 28 is going to be way away from that, and I went into the land of Vikings with Champions of Midgard.
Okay.
And this is another one of those games where, when it came out, everybody said it's Viking Lords of Waterdeep, and I thought, well, I got Lords of Waterdeep, so why do I need that? And somewhere along the way, I picked it up, and we played it, and it is just so much fun. It's got a lot more. I think Lords of Waterdeep, even though I do find that game thematic, this one has a lot more flavor to it than Lords of Waterdeep has. You are doing kind of the same things, but you're going to gather up your Viking warriors in the form of dice. Based on what kind of warrior it is, will be different dice. And then you go off to, protect the city from the troll. And whoever doesn't do that or whoever gets stuck with it actually gets blamed if the troll attacks or whatever, right? So if you don't help defend the city from the trolls, you'll get negative points. You go off and fight various other creatures on the mainland. And what you're doing there is collecting sets of colors for the creatures you kill there to score it in-game. And then you can get on longboats and go on quests. And, those might end up with you fighting some crazy dragon or fire beast or something over there, and you've got to prepare for the journey because you got to feed your little Vikings along the way, and if you don't, they die. So you've got to get you some meat and take it with you, and then you fight the big baddie, and he may kill you or not, or maybe you're successful, It's just so much fun. It takes that idea of a clean worker placement game and just adds a ton of flavor and fun on top of it. Champions of Midgard, my number 28.
I do like the going across and on the long journey and you're right, you could flat out, from the perils of the sea voyage, you might not even make it to the big creatures. You flip that card to be like, okay, I'm sunk. So it's definitely an exciting game. I enjoy that one a lot. So for my number 28, I chose Royals. Royals, I love this game. It's basically you're in Europe and you are trying to gain influence with the king, the princess, the queen by using cards, and it's again sets of cards, right? So if you're going after a noble in France, then you're playing the French cards, and I like it because it's like, I don't know, area control, political intrigue, and I love the way the board works and the way the cards flow, and you can even like assassinate someone else who gained influence with the guy you want. So, but it's very smooth. It's not confrontational, in a take that kind of way. I really enjoy that game, and that's Royals.
Yeah, you're gaining influence, but it's done in kind of an area control way. And then there are scoring phases as you go along, and then each region will score, and the first person to do X will score. There's tons of ways to score points, and I don't think the idea is area control, but that's what it feels like, and it's very fulfilling in that way.
Very nice.
That's our numbers 28. Checking in at number 27 is a game that's going to help me dispel a myth that Chip would have you people believe, and that's that I don't like train games. Well, here's one. Coal Baron, the Great Card Game. This is one of those games, we talked about it with Radis, playing this game and liking it so much makes me want to go out and get Coal Baron and try that.
Nice.
But it's a worker placement game with cards, and you think, how is that going to work? Well, you have a handful of workers that have values, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on how many players you've got. And if you're going to go to a space and get a new car for your train, then in order to do that, you put down however many workers. So if I put down a 1, anybody else that wants to go to that space has to put down 2 workers. And you need to have 2 workers to put down because you don't get change. So if you put a 3, you're not pulling a 1 back from somewhere. So you've kind of got to manage your priorities on what you want to try to get this turn to build up your railroad with the workers that you have available to you. So it absolutely works on the worker placement avenue, and I actually do like the theme and what you're doing in the game, which is loading up your cars and delivering them for points. So Coal Baron, the Great Card Game.
Absolutely love this game too. It's really cool because you're doing the whole coal train from start to finish. You are loading your lorries and then loading them onto the train, and you get you choose an engine for your train, and depending on what type of engine you choose, you're going to deliver it, and there's contracts to fulfill, and it's got every piece of the industry, but all in cards. And so it's really a ton of fun.
Very nice. I mean, it's baby steps. I get this game, Coal Baron, Trains and Stations, next stop, 18 XX games. So we'll get you there. So.
Well, for my number 27, I chose Rail Raiders Infinite.
Oh, look at there.
Another train game. Yes. With this one, though, you are little chibi characters, and you're either a gunslinger or a gambler or whatever the case may be, and you're trying to rob a train. So you have to first get on it while it's moving, and then you're trying to pick up loot along the way. There's lawmen, and depending on later expansions, they're, other baddies that are in the cars, the train cars. So it's basically these little boards, and each one is a train car, and you're trying to get through it. I don't know. It's just a ton of fun. Yeah. You use, poker dice to roll your hand, and it's just a ton of fun. There's no stress, all fun, and that's Rail Raiders Infinite.
Yeah, it's throw chibi from the train. Is
yes, it
was. I want to call the game. It is. It's super fun, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not trying to compare it to Arcadia Quest, but it gives me that same kind of feel. It's just go out and have fun with what's going on. Yeah, I enjoy it. So what's your train game?
My train game, I don't have a train game. I have my only crossover from previous is going to be with Joe, and it's Eclipse. It's, the space exploration Euro game. And that's really the distinction in all of them. I'm going to have more sci-fi show up on my list, spoiler. But this one is the true Euro of the exploration, 4X style games. It hits a lot of levels for me. It has a hex map. Somehow I'm drawn to those. But just the exploration factor and there's some resource management, tech management that you have to do. It's just really cool. And I'm a sucker for sci-fi, so this one really got me. A few expansions out there we've started to incorporate, and I'd like to play it a little bit more. But it's a fun game, all around.
This one's already been on my list, so I agree wholeheartedly. Definitely a good game.
This one you can kind of do your own thing.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I guess somebody could sort of barrel over you if they wanted to, but in initial setup, it's set up to kind of do your own thing if you want to. If you choose to get involved with other people, you can, but don't have to.
And that's our 27s.
So now at 26, I chose the Manhattan Project Energy Empire.
What?
Yes! Okay. Can't believe you did that.
Sorry.
That's all right.
It was shocking.
I'm sorry. Energy Empire is an amazing game. It's so cool. It's nation versus nation, and you're trying to build up the best energy empire. So you're gathering dice, and the dice are your energy, be it coal, be it oil, be it nuclear. You roll these dice, and that's the amount of energy you have to use for that particular turn. It's a worker placement game, and it's kind of where, like, if you put a worker out there, but then someone wants to go to the same economic area to grab a card for your hand, they have to put that plus energy. They have to ante up more in order to go to the same area. It just hits all the right buttons for me, and that's Manhattan Project Energy Empire.
Yeah, it's one of those games where you go and I go and we keep going until I have to pull my workers back, and then I kind of have a reset phase, and then based on what dice I may have, I roll them, and the more efficient type of energy you have also is going to bring with it the potential for pollution. And in nuclear's case, it'll actually give you some permanent pollution, and you have a little player board that you're assigning your pollution to as you get it, but you want to keep that as clean as you can, because each row that's empty at the end of the game is going to give you victory points. I really like this one too.
Very cool. My 26, I'm actually surprised it hasn't shown up on y'all's yet. Maybe it's higher up, but it's Stone Age. So we had played a lot of Lords of Waterdeep, and then you guys introduced me to this game, another worker placement style game, but much different, and I really like it. It introduces a dice mechanic for a little bit of random, but not too bad, to see what kind of resources you're gathering, and just some different worker placement powers or abilities that occur. Just neat. It's thematic to me. It feels like I'm kind of managing a little Stone Age culture, and making new babies and everything else as I gather my wood and stone and everything. So really cool game, Stone Age.
Well, that and the feeding your people isn't as hard to do in this game as some of the others.
Yeah, I didn't do this one.
Yeah,
I like Stone Age too. Honestly, I can't remember whether it made the list or not, but I know there are a number of worker placement games on here, and I just don't think it outranked them. But this is minor, but I tried to use a different word there and just couldn't come out. But this is one of my favorite boards.
Oh, yeah.
For any game. I just really like the board.
Pretty board.
I'm going to stick with my train theme from the last one, and my number 26 is going to be Railroad Revolution.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, this is one of those where you're like, why is Lucas going to play this game? And then we put it on the table, and I really enjoyed it. You're building out your route and scoring points in doing so, and you have different objectives that you score along the way. But my favorite part is the different kinds of workers that you put into the action. You have your standard worker that can always do an action for you, but he doesn't get you anything special for it. But if you have an orange worker and you put him on the right space, he will trigger an additional action. Yeah. And I like that, customizing what workers I'm picking up, because this is my strategy and they help feed that. So I think that's an interesting part of that puzzle, and I really enjoy Railroad Revolution.
That's a really neat game.
Wow, I thought this would be like in your teens, so there must be some
some good stuff coming.
25
better.
Wow. All right.
And that's going to be our number 26. At the halfway mark, 25, and we've already talked about Imperial Settlers. Now I'll bring in 51st State. So really great post-apocalyptic engine-building card game from Portal Games, and just I like the flow of it. It's you have locations, you have powers, and managing that, also keeping an eye on your opponents. There's options to go raid them, to get extra resources by destroying, and to take away an ability, if they have a runaway ability. I like it all the way around. Components are really nice and fun game. 51st State. Your
most important piece out of that entire game is your workers. So, that's you can build up your engine and have a bunch of deals, but if you don't have the workers to kick them off,
Can't do anything.
yeah, you really have to try and pull more of those in.
Yeah, I had a revelation about this game, and I'm going to help you out. If you're not liking this game because it has an awful runaway leader situation going on, I'll tell you exactly where you're going wrong. You're not attacking them. You have to stop. If their engine is really kicking, you have got to break it, or they're just going to run off and leave you. We don't have an overly confrontational group by and large, and sometimes we just kind of let each other go. When you see that engine kicking into gear, you got to break it. Because, I think they've mastered, Portal Games, the engine building card game. And this one is so elegant. You've just got to, you actually have to use all of the tools at your disposal.
But you're right. It's not for groups that avoid confrontation.
Not
at all.
No. I'm going to follow that up with my number 25 brings us into the Star Wars universe, and that's Fantasy Flight Games Imperial Assault. We've talked a little bit as we've gone along about the number of dungeon crawlers we have on our list, and we really like them. And this one took Descent, tightened the bolts a little bit, and added Star Wars. You just can't go wrong there. I really enjoy it. I like the aspect of the one versus all, and that takes me back to all of the years that I spent as a dungeon master, and I like the way the initiative just goes back and forth, and you resolve, and the players are going to get benefits, and they may be able to bring along Han Solo with them, but if they do, they're going to give the Imperial player additional points that they can use for units. Really enjoy how that works. I like how the story unfolds, and as with everything else, Fantasy Flight's pumping out tons of stuff for it, so you can really go as far with that as you want to, or just stay with the core box, and I think you still have a great time. So, number 25, Imperial Assault.
What I really like about that is, as like a player against the Imperials, you can actually get to fight Darth Vader.
Yeah, right.
So, that's really exciting because, the player that you're actually, using isn't exactly a named character from the movie, but getting to go up against Darth Vader is really cool.
Well, and the amount of support that they've given this game in the expansions, it's really now crossing over into starting to feel like a role-playing experience to me anyway. Granted,
if you put that into it.
Yeah, if you put that into it. And I think these type of games, Descent and Imperial Assault and others, the ones that have the adversarial opponent, the game master, you kind of have to get in a game master mentality, or in some cases you're just going to run all over the players. There's some scenarios that are just set up that if you go into it with the chess mindset, you will destroy them, and it kind of ruins that for the other players. So you need to kind of be in that game master mentality. This one is starting to feel like that for me, and I can really appreciate it.
Well, my choice for this, for number 25, is Fresco. Fresco is a game where you are, you're an artist, and you are choosing what time of day you're getting up. The earlier you get up, you get the choice of, better components, better paints. You get the first choice of going at the shops. If you sleep in, though, your apprentices and your helpers, they're going to be much happier with you because you're not making them get up with the rooster. But the whole point of this is you are basically painting the chapel ceiling, right? So you're going through and you're matching colors and you're building up your palette. And I don't know, it's very mechanical. It's very Euro, but it just makes so much sense, and I really enjoy that puzzle of it. So there's a ton of expansions for it. Stained glass is another one, but Fresco it hits all the buttons for me on that one too.
If you like it, if you've tried it and you like it and you're thinking about get the big box because it includes all 10 or 12, however many they are, of the expansions in the box. And I like these module-based expansions where you can say, I like this thing, and this thing. Let's plug those in and play a game with that, And I think it gives you so much variety based on just plugging in different modules and playing, an entirely different setup each time. Good choice.
Thank you. Those are our number 25s.
At number 24, I've got the game that we have long considered our group's favorite game, to the point where we've broken down every year on January 1st and played it, and that's History of the World. Seriously?
We have a matchup.
Oh, nice.
This is my number 24 as well.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've played this game for well more than a decade, and we used to play it all the time, and it is souped up Risk, basically. But it's so much fun because each era of the game, each epoch, and there's 7, you're going to go through a process by which you either, based on player order, you take a card and you either keep that civilization that you're going to play out this turn and try to expand your influence and build monuments and gain resources to score points, or you're going to give that to somebody else. So sometimes you have to say, oh, I like this, but maybe I'll end up with something better, or oh, wow, I drew this garbage civilization and you're in the lead, so here you go. It's a really neat way to do that. It's a nice twist on the idea of Risk, to the point where, like I said, we've been playing this for well more than a decade, and I think we'll be playing it for well longer than that. 24, History of the World.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, and the winds of fate really come your way sometimes, where you have a full game of getting mediocre empires, and then in that last era you pull England and you just sweep forward. So it's really it is swingy in that way, but like you said, watching and playing optimally by giving the leader the subpar civilizations can really keep the runaway leader from, and it remains a competitive game throughout the end.
This is definitely a game where I wish, Restoration would step in and redo it, not change anything about it.
Well, Z-Man's putting out a new version this year.
pretty.
I just don't know what they're changing.
Yeah,
okay.
So I'll take a long look at it.
Well, for my number 24, I chose 1812, The Invasion of Canada.
Oh, yes.
So
we got all warlike on this.
Of all of Academy games, this one is my favorite. The Invasion of Canada introduces the Native American into it. So the first time I got to play this game, I got to play the Native Americans, and it was really cool because you had the standard, this army versus this army and all this, but with the Native Americans, it added almost a little skirmish bit to it, because they would sneak in on their canoes and, obliterate this and then sneak back out, so the stealth moves. I really enjoyed Invasion of Canada, so it's my favorite of Academy games.
It goes to 5 players. That's a really really nice plus.
And he
for
did
that
it well.
Right? It did.
Yeah, I can't speak more highly of Academy games. Every game we've played from them has just been a smash hit with me.
That's our number 24.
So at 23, I have a crossover with both these guys.
Oh, okay.
History of the World.
Oh, very nice.
I'll give you a little bit more.
That's cool.
About everything that they've already said, with the epochs and building up your monuments and spreading out your armies, and then praying against all odds that you don't get, the Incas or whatever it is, because, you could go all the way to the end, and then that last card that they hand you is like, no. So, amazing game. History of the World, my number 23.
We've said it all. My 23 is going to be a game we just recently, it's an older game, but we recently just played it and just fell in love with it, all of us, 5 Tribes.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I'm already a sucker for the Mancala mechanism. I don't know why. It's just fun for me. And this one has that. I like the implementation they do with it of the last color that you drop. It has to have the same color in that tile, but that's the action that triggers, right? And that's just really cool to me. I like that. The working to get the genies, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Splendor, trying to pick up the nobles and things like that. But just the Mancala mechanism, and then the variety you're going to have building that modular board is a real bonus for me. I really enjoy this game.
it's seeing all those moves, you know, and they're not always obvious, right? So, you know, trying to figure out the best move and definitely using the special powers that the gens give you. Don't be afraid to use them. Excellent game.
Yes. Cool choice. At 23, I've got a game from 2017 and published by IDW and designed by Kevin Wilson, and that's Escape from 100 Million DC. I thought this one was actually going to come in pretty high on the list, and I guess 23 is, because when we played it, I had flashbacks of playing Eldritch Horror, which I love, and I just so enjoyed the experience of playing it. You know, you're crash landed back in time. It's kind of a Land of the Lost type deal. And, you know, your ship couldn't just crash. It had to just scatter everything it had all along the way. So you're trying to go out and collect the items that you've scattered around so that you don't create paradoxes, having that technology in the past. And then, in the meantime, it has somehow sucked famous figures from history back in time. So you've got to diplomatize.
That's a good word.
Those folks and get them back to where they need to be so that you don't create paradoxes with them. Nice set of pieces that this one comes together and makes a pretty cool game. Escape from 100 Million BC.
And don't forget your spaceship time machine, when it crash land, plugged a volcano.
Yeah.
So now the pressure is building up and it's about to explode.
And even at the end, if you make it off and finish the game, you could still lose.
Yeah.
Because anything you leave behind is going to add to the paradox level, and you could win, but not win. So it's a ton of fun on that one.
That's our number 23s.
Coming in at number 22, it's Lucas's favorite roll and move game for me. That's Zaya Legends of a Drift System. I told you there'd be some more sci-fi. I'm a sucker for it. This even has hex maps in a way. I like it. It's billed as a sandbox style game, and I think there's a lot to that because there's a lot of stuff in this game that can give you points, and ultimately you're looking for fame points to win the game. So even down to just simply rolling a 20 on a D20. Will give you a fame point. But, you know, there's missions to run. There's pick up and deliver. There's even smashing other players and taking their stuff. I just like it. There's a lot of variety between the ships. And I think it's the ship boards. They all have a very unique pattern of cargo holds or you know, places that you can outfit your ships with different weaponry and things like that. And so you can kind of pattern your game if you want to be a pick up and deliver merchant, you can do that. If you want to be a space pirate, you can do that. Or if you just want to try to go through an asteroid belt 4 times and kill yourself every time, you can do that too, right, Lucas?
It was twice, but yeah.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, let me break in with this little clip right here.
I guess to me it's an evolution of Warhammer Quest. I think they took out a little bit of Warhammer Quest had some instant death rolls. Especially when you went back to town. I don't think Descent has those, and I can appreciate that because, you know, just one dice roll to kill you it's kind of bad, but I don't know. I got used to it.
Yeah, it's terrible. Rolling the dice and dying, really, that's bad.
I got used to it playing Warhammer Quest,
So, as we discussed there, rolling the dice and dying isn't fun. I think this game would have been just as fun just to roll D20s until everybody rolled enough 20s to get enough points and then move on and do something else. Completely random is how I would describe it. And that didn't work for me, and it had major thematic breaking points. We had an instance where if you harvested so much material without rolling a 20 or without rolling the wrong number in the same turn, you got a victory point. So with one cargo hold, we had a player harvest, jettison, harvest, jettison, harvest, jettison, harvest, jettison, just to try to make the number of rolls so they could get the point. That's just complete and total thematic break for me. I was mildly uncomplimentary of a couple of your choices a bit ago, and that was Through the Ages. I see the cool game there.
Okay.
I really do. It's just too long and too much downtime for me. And then Twilight Imperium, I see the brilliant design there. It just takes all day, and we have to schedule that. That's cool. I do not see the good game here. I just do not see it. Don't understand why folks like it. Don't get it.
To clarify, rolling the dice and dying being a bad thing for me is in relation to like Warhammer Quest where it's permadeath. At least in Zaya, it's like a reset.
You just
switch.
reset and you're just further behind,
Yeah.
right? And it's like the different upgrades you could get on your ship. First of all, go out and get the highest level of shields you can, because they will never get through your shields. You're permanently invincible at that point. But the different engines is one of the things that really bothered me too. They were really expensive to get because money was kind of hard to come by, and they didn't. You could still roll a 1 even if you spent the crazy amount of money to get the engine. I think it would have been better if it would have been, changed the range of numbers on the dice. If you got the high level engine, you were still using a D6, but maybe my D6 for the high level and it starts at a 5 or whatever. Because you're like, man, I've rolled 1 3 times in a row. Okay, I'm going to pay the crazy money and get the big engine. 1. Oh, come on now. Yeah.
All right. Well, your mileage may vary, but I'm saying it's one of my favorite.
It is completely random, but if you go into it knowing that it's completely random chaos, it's a good game.
She likes it.
I do.
She does. A lot of people do. I just don't know why. My number 22 is completely not random, and interestingly enough, was my number 22 the last time we did this list a year ago, and that's Florenza. We talked about it before. It was on Joe's list. You're the patron of a family, commissioning artists to go out and build great works of art in the city of Florenza, building up your workshops and your local art in your little district. It's a worker placement game, but everything is so precise, because when you make the choice that I'm going to perform this piece of artwork, you don't have to be able to have the resources to do it right then. But by the end of the turn, you better pull it off or you're going to get negative points. And that puzzle, because we had that backfire a couple of times, by the time it's time to do it, you couldn't. That puzzle of managing your resources as you go along each turn, and it's tight. The white blocks, the marble is not very plentiful. So, if you want to do something that requires that, and a lot of things did, you've really got to manage that. And the other neat thing, I can place my worker on anywhere in the main board or on one of your workspaces. And I really liked that. A lot of worker placement or other games that give you your own little area, that's yours and off limits. I liked the interaction that gave you there. So number 22, Florenza.
I know this is a favorite list, and we're not telling you that they're best games, but this game does have one of the best player aids, I will say.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And one cool thing about the artists, too, because you have to hire your artists in order to do the work. The really nifty thing is they built into the game to where if you like rolling dice, then when that artwork is finished, you roll the dice and see how good it is.
Yeah.
And if it's a 6, it's a masterpiece. But if you don't want that random element, they have rules to take that completely out. And I just thought that was cool because they kind of catered the game to your style of play.
Yeah.
And it's just a little minor thing.
Yeah, it is a minor thing. It's one dice roll that's, a swing of maybe a couple of points as you go along, but there's a variant where you can make it a 0 random deal. So.
Very, very cool. So for my number 22, I chose another crossover.
Oh.
Coal Baron, the great card game.
I thought you were going to hit me with Zaya again.
No, I wouldn't.
It's higher on our list.
It has to be.
With the coal, we just talked about that earlier in this grouping, and it's an amazing game, and it just floors me that all of this goodness is in just cards, and that just blows my mind. It deserved to be pretty high on my list, and that's why it got number 22.
And that's our 22. I'm going to start off the last one on this list with a game that we have talked about so many times on the channel, and that's Coldwater Crown from Bellwether Games.
Wow.
If you haven't figured it out, I love worker placement. I really enjoy it. This one's unique in that you're placing a worker and doing whatever, and then at the end of your turn, you're picking a worker off the board. So it helps you set what's going to be available for your opponents as it goes along, and also when you take that worker off, each worker has a 1 or 2 on each side of it, and that's the relative strength. So you may really need whatever pulling this worker off is going to give you, but it's going to flip to a 1 and it's not going to be so powerful next turn. So there's something in that. The basic idea is you're in a giant fishing contest, trying to catch weights at the shore, the lake, and the river, and however you score there, you'll gain points. But they're all the little mini competitions going on at the same time. I don't know if point salad is the right word, but there are so many ways to get points and so many paths to victory in this thing. Yeah. And that's why I just think it's so enjoyable. Coldwater Crown, number 21.
I was just floored because I know how much you love this game. Yeah, and it's a 21. Wow.
It's a cool game. I really enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Well, for my number 21, I chose Imperial Assault.
Okay.
Again, this is one that we have mentioned already in this group, but it was just so enjoyable. It was just a unique, almost dungeon delving type game, but it was in the Star Wars universe, which I absolutely adore. And it had a refreshing theme to it because you could be, outside in the forest of Endor or, whatever the case may be. You can just go all over. And I just really, really, really enjoyed it because of all the places it could take you. Right? Mm-hmm. So Imperial Assault, that's my 21.
I'll give Fantasy Flight credit too as a miniature painter. The miniatures are pretty high quality, and they're
pretty good.
They're nice to paint up. My number 21 is going to be one of my guilty pleasure games, and you sort of had you didn't have a bad experience because you haven't played it, but you kind of turned your nose up at it a little bit, and I think I know why. And I really wish I could find a way to get you to overcome that. It's going to be Heroes of Normandy. And I think your holdup is because it's a miniature game without the miniatures.
It's not it.
Oh, is that? Well, okay. I wish you would play it because I think
I have played it.
Have you? I didn't think you played it.
No, I think I played it with Brandon.
Oh, okay. Well, I figured if you played it, you'd like it.
Theme.
The World War II, is that all it is? Okay. Well, they made a 40K
neat
version
system.
of it. You want to try that?
I don't know. It might be neat.
I really like it. I try to call myself a war gamer, but I'm not really because I don't really want to go play, a 16-day game of Advanced Squad Leader. But I like the idea of the war game. Now, I like Command and Colors and that kind of stuff. The easier war game. I'm a light war gamer, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But this one doesn't take itself real seriously, and it's got sort of your comic book style flavor to it, and I can just appreciate it. Me and Brandon play it, and we both enjoy it. But yeah, maybe if it had some miniatures, maybe it would add a little bit to it. But I just like the way that it plays out, and it's all cardboard, But it's a World War II fight, and that's Shadows over Normandy, but Heroes of Normandy.
Yeah, I actually think it is a good system. I think it's well designed. It was fun enough. I think miniatures would actually take away from it. I like what they've got going on there. It's just the theme. I'm not as interested in the modernish warfare type theme. If it were set 1,000 years before or after that, it might be really nifty.
Heroes of Hastings,
maybe.
Those are our number 21s.
Well, thank you again for coming along with us on this journey. We're about halfway through now. We've got 2 episodes left as we're heading up to our number 1 favorite games. And so for Roll to Hit Gaming, I'm Chip.
I'm Joe.
And I'm Lucas.
See you next time.